The Sufi Message of Hazrat Inayat Khan, Volume 2, The Mysticism of Sound, Centennial Edition. Music. When we pay attention to nature's music, we find that everything on the earth contributes to its harmony. The trees joyously wave their branches to the rhythm of the wind, the sound of the sea, the murmuring of the breeze, the whistling of the wind through the rocks, hills, and mountains, the flash of the lightning and the crash of the thunder, the harmony of the sun and moon, the movements of the stars and planets, the blooming of the flower, the fading of the leaf, the regular alternation of morning, evening, noon, and night, all reveal to the seer the music of nature. The insects have their concerts and ballets, and the choirs of birds chant in unison their hymns of praise. Dogs and cats have their orgies, foxes and wolves have their soirees musicales in the forest, while tigers and lions hold their operas in the wilderness. Music is the only means of understanding among birds and beasts. This may be seen by the gradation of their pitch and the volume of their tone, the manner of their tune, the number of repetitions, and the duration of their various sounds, which convey to their fellow creatures the time for joining the flock, the warning of coming danger, the declaration of war, the feeling of love, and the sense of sympathy, displeasure, passion, anger, fear, and jealousy, making a language of itself. In humans, breath is a constant tone, and the beat of the heart, pulse, and head keeps the rhythm continually. An infant responds to music before it has learned how to speak. It moves its hands and feet in time and expresses its pleasure and pain in different tones. In the beginning of human creation, no language such as we now have existed, but only music. Human beings first expressed their thoughts and feelings by low and high, slow and prolonged sounds. The depth of tone showed strength and power, and the height of pitch expressed love and wisdom. Humans conveyed sincerity, insincerity, inclination, disinclination, pleasure or displeasure by the variety of their musical expressions. The tongue touching various points in the mouth, and the opening and the closing of the lips in different ways produced the variety of sound. The grouping of the sounds made words conveying different meanings in their various modes of expression. This gradually transformed music into a language. But language could never be free itself from music. A word spoken in a certain tone shows subservience, and the same word spoken in a different tone expresses command. A word spoken in a certain pitch shows kindness, and the same word spoken in a different pitch expresses coldness. Words spoken in a certain rhythm show willingness, and the same words express unwillingness when spoken at a different degree of speed. Up to the present day, the ancient languages, Sanskrit, Arabic, and Hebrew, cannot be mastered by simply learning the words, pronunciation, and grammar, because a particular rhythmic and tonal expression is needed. The word in itself is frequently insufficient to express the meaning clearly. The student of language, by keen study, can discover this. Even modern languages are but a simplification of music. No words of any language can be spoken in one and the same way without the distinction of tone, pitch, rhythm, accent, pause, and rest. A language, however simple, cannot exist without music in it. Music gives it a concrete expression. It is therefore that a foreign language is rarely perfectly spoken. The words are learned, but the music is not mastered. Language may be called the simplification of music. Music is hidden within language as the soul is hidden in the body. At each step towards simplification, the language has lost some of its music. A study of ancient traditions reveals that the first divine messages were given in song and were the Psalms of David, the Song of Solomon, the Gathas of Zoroaster, and the Gita of Krishna. When language became more complex, it closed, as it were, one wing, the sense of tone, keeping the other wing, the sense of rhythm, outspread. This made poetry a subject distinct and separate from music. In ancient times, religions, philosophies, sciences, and arts were expressed in poetry. The Vedas, Puranas, Ramayana, Mahabharata, Zend Avesta, Kabbalah, and the Bible are to be found in verse, as well as different arts and sciences in the ancient languages. Among the scriptures, the only work in prose is the Quran, and even this is not devoid of poetry. In the East, even in recent times, not only manuscripts of science, art, and literature were written in poetry, but the learned even discoursed in verse. In the next stage, humans freed the language from the bond of rhythm and made prose out of poetry. Although humans have tried to free language from the trammels of tone and rhythm, yet in spite of this, the spirit of music still exists. People prefer to hear poetry recited and prose well read, which is in itself a proof of the soul seeking music, even in the spoken word. The crooning song of the mother soothes the infant and makes it sleep, and lively music gives it an inclination to dance. It is music which doubles the courage and strength of a soldier when marching towards the field of battle. In the East, when the caravans travel from place to place on a pilgrimage, they sing as they go. In India, the coolies sing when at work, and the rhythm of the music makes the hardest labor become easy for them. The ancient legend tells how the angels sang at the command of God to induce the unwilling soul to enter the body of Adam. The soul, intoxicated by the song of the angels, entered the body, which is regarded as a prison. All spiritualists who have really sounded the depths of spiritualism have realized that there is no better means of attracting the spirits from their plane of freedom to the outer plane than music. They make use of different instruments that appeal to a certain spirit, and sing songs that have a special effect upon the particular spirit with whom they wish to communicate. There is no magic like music to make an effect upon the human soul. The taste for music is an inborn instinct in humanity, and it first shows in the infant. Music is known to children from the cradle, but as they grow in this world of delusion, their minds become absorbed in so many and varied objects that they lose the aptitude for music which their soul possesses. When grown up, they enjoy and appreciate music in accordance with their grade of evolution and with the state of the surroundings in which they have been born and brought up. Those of the wilderness sing their wild lays, and those of the city their popular songs. The more refined one becomes, the finer music one enjoys. The influence of character in every person creates a tendency for music akin to it. In other words, the gay enjoy light music, while the serious-minded prefer classical. The intellectuals take delight in technique, while the simpletons are satisfied with their drums. There are 5 different aspects of the art of music. The popular, that which induces motion of the body. Technical, that which satisfies the intellect. Artistic, that which has beauty and grace. Appealing, that which pierces the heart. Uplifting, in which the soul hears the music of the spirit. The effect of music depends not only on the proficiency, but also upon the evolution of the performer. Its effect upon the listeners is in accordance with their knowledge and evolution. And for this reason, the value of music differs with each individual. For the self-satisfied ones, there is no chance of progress, because they cling contentedly to their taste according to their state of evolution, refusing to advance a step higher than their present level. Those who gradually progress along the path of music, in the end, attain to the highest perfection. No other art can inspire and sweeten the personality like music. The lover of music attains sooner or later to the most sublime field of thought. India has preserved the mysticism of tone and pitch discovered by the ancients, and this its music itself signifies. The Indian music is based upon the principle of the raga, which shows it to be akin to nature. It has avoided limitations of technique by adopting a purely inspirational method. The ragas are derived from 5 different sources. 1. The mathematical law of variety. 2. The inspiration of the mystics. 3. The imagination of the musicians. 4. The natural lays peculiar to the people residing in different parts of the land. 5. The idealization of the poets who made a world of ragas, calling one rag, the male, another ragini, the female, and others putra, sons, and bharja, daughters-in-law. Raga is called the male theme because of its creative and positive nature. Ragini is termed the female theme on account of its responsive and fine quality. Putras are such themes as are derived from the commingling of ragas and raginis. In them can be found a likeness to the raga and the ragini from which they are derived. Bharja is the corresponding theme which responds to the putra. There are 6 ragas, 36 raginis, 6 belonging to each raga, 48 putras, and 48 bharjas, which constitute this family. Each raga has an administration of its own, including a chief, mukhya, the keynote, a king, wadi, a principal note, samwadi, a minister, a subordinate note, anuwadi, an enemy, a dissonant note. This gives to the student of the raga a clear conception of its use. Each raga has its image distinct from the other. This shows the highest reach of imagination. The poets have pictured the images of ragas as each aspect of life has its picture clear in the imagination of the intelligent. The ancient gods and goddesses were simply pictures of the different aspects of life. And in order to teach the worship of immanence of God in nature, these various pictures were placed in the temples, that God, in every aspect of divine manifestation, might be worshipped. The same idea has been worked out in the images of ragas, which form in a delicate imagination the type, form, figure, action, expression, and effect of the idea. Every hour of the day and night, every day, week, month, and season has its influence upon a person's physical and mental condition. In the same way, each raga has power upon the sphere, as well as upon the health and mind of a person. The same effect as that which the different times show in life, subject to the cosmic law. By the knowledge of both time and raga, the wise have connected them to suit each other. There are instances in ancient tradition when birds and animals were charmed by the flute of Krishna. Rocks were melted by the song of Orpheus. And the Deepak Raga, sung by Tanzen, lighted all the torches while he himself was burnt by reason of the inner fire his song produced. Even today, the snakes are charmed by the pungi of the snake charmers in India. All this shows us how the ancients must have dived into the most mysterious ocean of music. The secret of composition lies in sustaining the tone as solidly and as long as possible through all its different degrees. A break destroys its life, grace, power, and magnetism, just as the breath holds life and has all grace, power, and magnetism. There are some notes that need a longer life than others, according to their character and purpose. In a true composition, a miniature of nature's music is seen. The effects of thunder, rain, and storm, and the pictures of hills and rivers make music a real art. Although art is an improvisation on nature, yet it is only genuine when it keeps close to nature. The music which expresses the nature and character of individuals, nations, or races is still higher. The highest and most ideal form of composition is that which expresses life, character, emotions, and feelings. For this is the inner world, which is only seen by the eye of the mind. A genius uses music as a language to express fully, without the help of words, whatever the genius may wish to be known. For music, a perfect and universal language, can express feeling more comprehensively than any tongue. Music loses its freedom by being subject to the laws of technique, but mystics, in their sacred music, regardless of the world's praise, free both their composition and improvisations from the limitations of technicality. The art of music in the East is called kala and has three aspects: vocal, instrumental, and motional. Vocal music is considered to be the highest, for it is natural. The effect produced by an instrument, which is merely a machine, cannot be compared with that of the human voice. However perfect strings may be, they cannot make the same impression on the listener as the voice, which comes directly from the soul as breath and has been brought to the surface through the medium of the mind and vocal organs of the body. When the soul desires to express itself in voice, it first causes an activity in the mind, and the mind, by means of thought, projects finer vibrations in the mental plane, which is due course develop and run as breath through the regions of the abdomen, lungs, mouth, throat, and nasal organs, vibrating the air all through until they manifest on the surface as voice. The voice, therefore, naturally expresses the attitude of mind, whether true or false, sincere or insincere. The voice has all the magnetism which an instrument lacks, for voice is nature's ideal instrument, upon which all other instruments of the world are modeled. The effect produced by singing depends on the depth of feeling of the singer. The voice of a sympathetic singer is quite different from that of one who is heartless. However artificially cultivated a voice may be, it will never produce feeling, grace, and beauty unless the heart be cultivated also. Singing has a twofold source of interest: the grace of music and the beauty of poetry. In proportion as the singers feel the words they sing, an effect is produced upon the listeners. The singer's heart, so to speak, accompanies the song. Although the sound produced by an instrument cannot be produced by the voice, yet the instrument is absolutely dependent upon the human being. This explains clearly the idea how the soul makes use of the mind and how the mind rules the body, yet the body seems to work, not the mind, and the soul is left out of the question. When one hears the sound of the instrument and sees the hand of the player at work, one does not see the mind working behind and the phenomenon of the soul. At each step, from the inner being to the surface, there is an apparent improvement, which appears to be more positive, yet every step towards the surface entails limitation and dependence. There is nothing which is unable to serve as a medium for sound. Although tone manifests more clearly through a sonorous body than that of a solid one, the former being open to vibrations while the latter is closed. All things which give a clear sound show life, while solid bodies choked up with substance seem dead. Resonance is the reserving of tone. In other words, it is the rebound of tone which produces an echo. On this principle, all instruments are made, the difference lying in the quality and quantity of the tone, which depend upon the construction of the instrument. The instruments of percussion, such as the tabla or the drum, are suited for practical music, and the stringed instruments like the sitar, violin, or harp are meant for artistic music. The vina is especially constructed to concentrate the vibrations, as it gives a faint sound, audible to the player only. It is used in meditation. The effect of instrumental music also depends upon the evolution of the person who expresses with the tips of the finger upon the instrument that person's grade of evolution. In other words, the soul speaks through the instrument. A person's state of mind can be read by that person's touch upon any instrument. For however great an expert one may be, one cannot produce by mere skill without a developed feeling within oneself of the grace and beauty which appeals to the heart. Wind instruments like the flute and the algoza especially express the heart quality, for they are played with the breath, which is the very life, and therefore they kindle the heart's fire. Instruments stringed with gut have a living effect, for they come from a living creature, which once had a heart. Those strings with wire have a thrilling effect, and the instruments of percussion, such as the drum, have a stimulating and animating effect upon humans. After vocal and instrumental music comes the motional music of the dance. Motion is the nature of vibration. Every motion contains within itself a thought and feeling. This art is innate in humans. An infant's first pleasure in life is to amuse itself with the movement of hands and feet. And a child, on hearing music, begins to move. Even beasts and birds express their joy in motion. The peacock, proud in the vision of its beauty, displays its vanity in dance. Likewise, the cobra unfolds its hood and rocks its body on hearing the music of the pungi. All this proves that motion is the sign of life, and when accompanied with music, it sets both the performer and onlooker in motion. The mystics have always looked upon this subject as a sacred art. In the Hebrew scriptures, we find David dancing before the Lord, and the gods and goddesses of the Greeks, Egyptians, Buddhists, and Brahmins are represented in different poses, all having a certain meaning and philosophy relating to the great cosmic dance, which is evolution. Even up to the present time, among Sufis in the East, dancing takes place at their sacred meetings called sama, for dancing is the outcome of joy. The dervishes at the sama give an outlet to their ecstasy in rags, which is regarded with great respect and reverence by those present, and is, in itself, a sacred ceremony. The art of dancing has greatly degenerated, owing to its misuse. People, for the most part, dance either for the sake of amusement or exercise, often abusing the art in their frivolity. Tune and rhythm have a tendency to produce an inclination for dance. To sum up, dancing may be said to be a graceful expression of thought and feeling without uttering a word. It may be used also to impress the soul by movement, by producing an ideal picture before it. When beauty of movement is taken as the presentment of the divine ideal, then the dance becomes sacred. The music of life shows its melody and harmony in our daily experiences. Every spoken word is either a true or false note, according to the scale of our ideal. The tone of one personality is hard like a horn, while the tone of another is soft like the high notes of a flute. The gradual progress of all creation from a lower to a higher evolution, its changes from one aspect to another, shows, as in transposition in music, the changing of a melody from one key into another. The friendship and enmity among people and their likes and dislikes are as chords and discords. The harmony of human nature and the human tendency to attraction and repulsion are like the effects of the consonant and dissonant intervals in music. In the tenderness of heart, the tone turns into a half tone, and with breaking of heart, the tone breaks into microtone. The more tender the heart becomes, the fuller the tone becomes. The harder the heart grows, the more dead it sounds. Each note, each scale, and each strain expires at the appointed time. And at the end of the soul's experience, here the finale comes. But the impression remains as the concert in a dream before the radiant visions of the consciousness. With the music of the Absolute, the bass, the undertone, is going on continuously, but on the surface and under the various keys of all the instruments of nature's music, the undertone is hidden and subdued. Every being with life comes to the surface and again returns whence it came, as each note has its return to the ocean of sound. The undertone of this existence is the loudest and the softest, the highest and the lowest. It overwhelms all instruments of soft or loud, high or low tone, until all gradually merges into it. The undertone is always and always will be. The mystery of sound is called mysticism. The harmony of life is religion. The knowledge of vibrations is termed metaphysics, and the analysis of atoms science, and their harmonious grouping is art. The rhythm of form is poetry, and the rhythm of sound is music. This shows that music is the art of arts and the science of all sciences, and it contains the fountain of all knowledge within itself. Music is called a divine or celestial art, not only because its use in religion and devotion, and because it is in itself a universal religion, but because of its fineness in comparison with all other arts and sciences. Every sacred scripture, holy picture, or spoken word produces the impression of its identity upon the mirror of the soul. But music stands before the soul without producing any impression whatever of either name or form of its objective world, thus preparing the soul to realize the infinite. The Sufis, recognizing this, name music Giza Iru, the food of the soul, and use it as a source of spiritual perfection. For music fans the fire of the heart, and the flame arising from it illuminates the soul. Sufis derive much more benefit from music in their meditations than from anything else. Their devotional and meditative attitude makes them responsive to music, which helps them in their spiritual unfoldment. The consciousness, by the help of music, first frees itself from the body and then from the mind. This once accomplished, one step more only is needed to attain spiritual perfection. Sufis in all ages have taken a keen interest in music in whatever land they may have dwelt. Rumi especially adopted this art by reason of his great devotion. He listened to the verses of the mystics on love and truth sung by the qawwals, the musicians, to their accompaniment of the flute. Sufis visualize the object of their devotion in their minds, which is reflected upon the mirror of their souls. The heart, the factor of feeling, is possessed by everyone, although with everyone it is not a living heart. The heart is made alive by the Sufis who give an outlet to their intense feelings in tears and in sighs. By so doing, the clouds of Jalal, the power which gathers with their psychic development, fall in tears as drops of rain, and the sky of their hearts is clear, allowing the soul to shine. This condition is regarded by Sufis as the sacred ecstasy. Since the time of Rumi, music has become a part of devotion in the Mevlevi order of the Sufis. The masses in general, owing to their narrow orthodox views, have cast out the Sufis and opposed them for their freedom of thought, misinterpreting the Prophet's teachings, who prohibited the abuse of music, not music in the real sense of the word. For this reason, a language of music was made by Sufis, so that only the initiated could understand the meanings of the songs. Many in the East hear and enjoy these songs, not understanding what they really mean. A branch of this order came to India in ancient times and was known as the Chishti school of Sufis. It was brought to great glory by Khwaja Moinuddin Chishti, one of the greatest mystics ever known to the world. It would not have been an exaggeration to say that he actually lived on music, and even in the present day, although his body has been in the tomb at Ajmer for many centuries, yet at his shrine there is always music given by the best singers and musicians in the land. This shows the glory of a poverty-stricken sage compared with the poverty of a glorious king. The one during his life had all things, which ceased at his death, while with the sage, the glory is ever on the increase. At the present time, music is prevalent in the school of the Chishtis, who hold meditative musical assemblies called Sama or Qawwali. During these, they meditate on the ideal of their devotion, which is in accordance with their grade of evolution, and they increase the fire of their devotion while listening to the music. Wajd, the sacred ecstasy which the Sufis experience as a role at Sama, may be said to be union with the desired one. There are three aspects of this union which are experienced by Sufis of different stages of evolution. The first is the union with the revered idea from the plane of earth present before the devotee, either in the objective plane or in the plane of thought. The heart of the devotee, filled with love, admiration, and gratitude, then becomes capable of visualizing the form of its ideal of devotion while listening to the music. The second step in ecstasy, and the higher aspect of union, is union with the beauty of character of the ideal, irrespective of form. The song in praise of the ideal character helps the love of the devotee to gush out and overflow. The third stage in ecstasy is union with the divine beloved, the highest ideal, who is beyond the limitation of name and form, virtue or merit, with whom it has constantly sought union, and whom the soul has finally found. This joy is unexplainable. When the words of those souls who have already attained union with the divine beloved are sung before those who are treading the path of divine love, they see all the signs on the path described in those verses, and it is a great comfort to them. The praise of the one so idealized, so unlike the ideal of the world in general, fills them with joy beyond words. Ecstasy manifests in various aspects. Sometimes a Sufi may be in tears. Sometimes a sigh may manifest. Sometimes it expresses itself in raga, motion. All this is regarded with respect and reverence by those present at the Sama assembly, as ecstasy is considered to be divine bliss. The sighing of the devotees clears a path for them into the world unseen, and their tears wash away the sins of ages. All revelation follows the ecstasy. The knowledge that a book can never contain, and that a language can never express or a teacher teach, comes to them of itself.